position. So when you're a little one, you don't really think of it unusual because every kid on the block goes through the same thing. You don't have food, you're hungry. Your clothes are made up of tablecloths and curtains because and you don't have money to go shopping, and many of the shops don't exist anymore, right? And so, but as a child, you also have dreams. And it only occurred to me 6 weeks ago. When I was 8 years old, and I was in school, and the teacher said, "Oh, what are you going to be one day?" Right? And so, as an 8-year-old, what do you know? So I said, I want to go to Lamborghini. And everybody laughed, the students laughed, and the teacher laughed. I went home, and my mother said, "Oh my God, how could you embarrass me like that? This is just terrible." So some of you might say, "What's Lamborghini? Never heard of it." But that was a hospital that Albert Schweitzer, the Nobel Prize winner, started a hospital in Africa, right? So as a young little humanitarian reading hard, I thought, "Oh, I want to go to Africa and be in Lamborghini with Albert Schweitzer." Well, obviously that didn't happen. But here we are, Unity Museum in Seattle. Hey, what's happening? Okay. And here, put it up here. Is it possible if we can do that, then I don't have to go. And so, here I am, and we started this museum in 2012. So not that long ago, really, right? But we're a 501c3, we're a member of United Nations, and we rent this little space up on the air, 2,400 square feet. As the chief of police says, we are the best little secret on the air. I promise you, we are. It's free. You get coffee, you get tea. Come and bake these amazing refreshments, chocolate chip cookies, and so on, because we are a unity family. That means we get visitors. We have our boundaries, whether they're PhD students, whether they're very wealthy, whether they're mayors or homeless. Everybody is welcome equally because everybody has a story. So my Lamborghini story is that it suddenly occurred to me when we opened up our project in Cameroon, because I became a certified human rights consultant. And with that, we went on the website, and then you had to list all your what do you do as a certified human rights consultant? And we said, let's start a Unity Museum. So I get this contact from Cameroon and from Rwanda. I thought, wow, this is cool. Now we are actually going global, right? And it was just an idea at that time. Well, in the meantime, the idea has taken roots where now our project in Cameroon, I kid you not, we have a museum there. We have a house and 3 guest bedrooms for university students at little city moving down. Some of our cows. And so they get a lot of veterans from the University of Berlin, veterinarians, and they volunteer in that little city of 40,000. Well, it so turned out they only had high school, and most of the kids drop out in 6th grade. And suddenly, the mayor says to me, "You know, Zabine, we got 50 acres of wheatland, we got the museum, then we bought woodland, that's right on the lake." So the mayor says to me, "Well, we got 8 students from the University of Berlin, you know, Germany, my father was from Berlin, right?" And he said, "Can you house them?" I said, "Yes, sure." And I said, "You know what, Mayor Sami, who's a Sunni, I happen to be a Baha'i, and then we're working there with the Catholic Mass. So we're very integrated, spiritually, shall I say, right, dedicated." I said, "If I'm going to have 8 students down at our property, I want an academy." He said, "Yeah, sure, done." I said, whoa, you don't know me. I said, "When I said academy, I don't mean just a little, you know what I mean?" He said, I know, none. For $400, the Unity Museum can purchase 10 acres of land next to your woodland, and it's going to be dedicated to the academy. I said, "Well, that sounds good." So I sent him $400, and I thought, this is really happening. You get to know what you get to. Those of you who have come to the Unity Museum will get to meet him because he's coming to Seattle to meet here with the African Chamber of Commerce and the mayor and the various departments, right, that are dealing with Africa. And by the way, they have a big Botox, you know, and we've got it right now. They're talking Botox aluminum, we need it all for manufacturing airplanes and everything. Anyway, so we kept this academy there. And the next thing is, he said, okay, now let's build a hospital there. I said, yeah, sure. Well, you know, by now I'm sitting here, yeah, remember, I'm sitting at home, my armchair, watching TV, whilst I'm directing traffic in Cameroon on behalf of our museum. This is the real world, too, girl. This is the real world, right? We can do anything once we're connected to the world. So within 90 days, we saved over 100, or 90 days, over 100 malaria patients who would have died because nobody can afford health insurance. And even if you have it, you go to the hospital, there'll be $250 you're pregnant on the sonogram to make sure your baby's okay. Nobody's got the money. And so we have figured out how to get malaria shots, HIV shots, and several other so-called hospitals. We work with Doctors Without Borders. Remember, this is a Unity Museum on the air, this little place upstairs. And it's amazing when you have an idea and you're visionary. The routes you can take in other places in the world. And so then we said, okay, I think we need a theater. I said, yeah, 400 people, it's a theater. That's great. The academy, a 2-story U-shaped building. That is apprenticeship training. Oh, bad news. You'd say, good, right? Bad news. She said, adults don't like to educate their community, 40,000, right? Because being educated people also means they're having a voice, and especially women having a voice now. So we had to fight for a year. Amy knows my 9 o'clock trauma. There starts this, and there starts that, and they stop this, and stop that, and kill this person, and kill that person. I said, what am I doing? This is the most horrible experience of my life. And all of a sudden, it's the best experience in my life. How could that happen, right? So then we have a house of worship, no teaching, no preaching, no sermons, none of that. Just you have Christians and Muslims and Baha'is and Hindus all meditating together in one room, 1,000 of them, overlooking the lake. I like that idea. Okay. So then we got now the museum there, we got the academy there, we got the hospital there. We have this massive vegetable garden that has a storehouse. And then the chiefs and elders said, yeah, Americans, all about money. Mayor Sandy, how much do you think they're gonna charge you for all of that? And I said, never a dime a penny, bothering. He said, what do you mean? I said, everything's free, you're too young, too old, or too sick. Everything, hospital, education, whatever, the grocery store, right? It's free. And the rest of you who are not too young, too old, or too sick, will get volunteer hours in return for services that builds the character and the cohesion of the village. So here we are again on the air of this little community place, and all of a sudden this little village in Cameroon is getting an experience in bartering, in education. I really can't believe we're doing that. He is coming to Seattle to talk about this experience because he went to a meeting for the Year of the African Child. The mayors and the governors all got together, and then it came to, what's going on in your city? And he describes, oh, well, actually, we got a project down there. It's on the lake. It's got a museum, an academy, and a hospital. They thought he said, lost his mind. Nobody in a small city like that has a project like that. And he brought up the pictures and he showed him. He said, oh, this thing is real. He said, well, yeah, of course this thing is real. And so, once the idea is good and it is valid, then all of a sudden others will realize, the mayor says, you know, if I can do it in this village, other villages in Africa can do the same thing. And this is how you'll probably say, well, how did you afford it? We don't charge anybody anything. We don't even get grant money until just recently, which we haven't even collected yet. So how do we get the money? The mayors in Africa, what they do, they take big containers, and then they go from village to village. And the first ones who get picked out there are the mayors or governors. Then the second are the wholesalers, and then come the residents, right? And I mayor to buy sonogram and x-ray machines and desks and laptops and sewing machines and all that, and pay for the labor. I can't believe we own the whole thing. And it's all run by the villagers. So the idea of a unity museum really means a global community project that is free to the villagers, and that they then give their own ideas, lead, sweat, and tears, and then help each other to grow. And it was just an idea. I didn't really think you could really do that, except we did it. So therefore, Lamborghini, right, coming back to this 8-year-old. So I just not that long ago, I thought, oh, I would remember that. I said, wait, Lamborghini, hospital. Dang, we got a hospital, right? And I said, oh, I wonder how far Lamborghini and a hospital is at 180 miles. Imagine an 8-year-old in war-torn, rightly so, right? That's what you do with your dress, and you bring on war, what you get, they come back and get you. And so, therefore, 180 miles. So when you dream as an 8-year-old, I'm going to tell you as an 80-year-old, 83 to be exact, your dreams do come true. Stay focused, concentrate on what you're dreaming, because in the end, in spite of you, no money or not, I mean, we can hardly afford a little place up there, right? No money or not, when the idea is right, it will take off. And I think we're the best example of somebody. So let me just show you for a second here. And we're envisioning just one humanity, right? We're all about social justice. It doesn't really need to have a lot of explanation. But let me just go up here, and I just want to show you a little bit. Here we go. Virtual tour. Give you a quick virtual tour, right? And then I know, Amy, I'm not going to take up your time because I don't want to bore everybody here. And so, okay, she's waving at me. No, you know what happened? Amy took so much time to write out her talk. She put it here on the table, and it's gone. So poor Amy is sitting there trying to memorize her talk, because somewhere in this room is her talk, and nobody knows where it is. So that's where she keep on keeping.
I'm hoping it's here.
Anyway, just to show you here. So here we go. So we have a little welcome room at the books. There we go. This is our little entrance, and this is where we have all of our visitors and have our coffee and tea, and there's Cameron welcoming everybody, and here we are. We have all these little yummy things. But I was sharing that you often look for community gathering rooms. Our museum is free to you anytime you want to, but we only can seat up to 40 people. We do have a kitchen. You gotta bring your own food. We give you coffee, but you gotta bring your own food, right? So that just makes sense, right? Anyway, this here is the room. Oops, let me just see. Oops, there it is. And it has a big screen coming from, oops, here we go for the kids. Then this is the speaker's lounge. So we have the fireplace, and the big screen is right at the top. You can bring it down if you want to make presentation. And then we got about 40 chairs that we can bring in for you. And we got about 7,000 books in there. You know, on that right here, that's an old jukebox. We found it, the original jukebox with the original CDs in it. Do you know what our museum is 27 stairs, upstairs, straight up and down, right? And you know how big those jukeboxes are? I don't know why I didn't kill anybody that day. But people on the side, see, they saw us and they would come and we were, oh, I thought, oh my God, this thing falls backwards. But there it is, and the kids can dance, and we got a little pinball machine right there at the front, right? So we just wanted to be there. Okay, and you see in the back there, that's a little meeting place for the like 10, 12 people, committee meeting, and have a TV, and we've got the movies and lots lots of stuff going on there in our kitchen, here it is, right? So this is a small committee meeting, that's our kitchen. And you're saying, why do I have to look at this? What's all this to do with the museum? It's loading. Okay, just a second. So, okay, sorry about that. And, okay, where do I go down there? Oh, there it is. But then I really do want to, okay, this is a tour. Oops, here we go. So one day, I get a phone call. You heard of the evening program? Kind of fun, isn't it? And it's a beautiful call, so I get a phone call, and they said, oh, Zabine, are you Unity Museum? I said, yeah, who are you? And you know, I'm Jim, I'm from the evening program. And we just found out, what's with this Unity Museum? Never heard of it, I know them all. Well, who are you? So he brings over the cameraman. And sure enough, there we were on the evening program. And let me just see where, let me just go into, if I can go into YouTube. Okay. YouTube, okay. Sorry, am I now stressing you all out, aren't I? Okay. Because that's how I'm gonna end, to show you, oops, that. Okay. Alright, let's go. Because he really summed it up much better than I could ever do, is how to, who we are. And so I let him do the talking rather than me talk. Carmen, we also have that video on our website, don't we?
It looked like one of your pictures on your tour page had the video.
It has a video, okay, let me go back on that, on Unity Museum, okay. Isn't it nice that she knows better than I do? Okay, go, alrighty, and let me just look under. And he really did a nice job. Afterwards, I asked him, once the evening program aired, you know, it was really lovely. And I said to him, Jim, come on over, let's sit down in the front, and let's just talk, you and me. What did you think of this place? What do you think of the idea of having places from Seattle in Africa, in Rwanda, in Brooklyn, New York, in Portland, in Sydney, Australia, in Lansing, Michigan? What do you think of that? He said, it's unimaginable. I'm not quite sure exactly how it would work. But all we do know is that some of them are traveling museums. What's a traveling museum? When I first became a member of the Washington State Museum Association, you go to the conference, and here they gave an award to the Greek Museum. I went over, I congratulated them, and I said, wow, this is so wonderful, you get this award, where is it? I'd like to visit it. And he said, we don't really have a museum. I said, what do you mean? You just won an award for having a museum. Well, we have a traveling museum. I said, what's that? And so he gave me the idea, so there's nothing original about it. He said, well, we have a fold-out table and a three-fold and a gazebo, and then we have a carpet and chairs, and then we have our exhibit we bring into high schools and colleges and speaking, you know, in places such as yourself, and we would bring the exhibit. And so we travel, or we stand on the corners at street fairs. Thank you, Cameron, bring it up for me. And so, so he said, we engage with the people in the neighborhood, because if you're on the sidewalks, you don't need a permit. I said, you mean you can set up anywhere? Well, you know how Jehovah's Witnesses are everywhere, because you don't need permits, right? So on the sidewalk, it's free. And so therefore, we started to do that in Portland and in Michigan and so on. And they go out, and so what happened in Brooklyn, so they went out Martin Luther King Day on the topic of race, right? And then what happened is that the tribal chief, not too far from Brooklyn, came and said, oh, could you come over to our museum, to our reservation, and give a talk on water rights on reservation? We said, sure. That's what traveling museums do. They go to where their need is, whether it's on gender or climate. I tell you, we've had, most of our visitors are UW students, right, and faculty members, and our biggest number of students study for us for credit. We are a internship registered for credit site, right? So, okay, I got it. And so, did you bring it up, Cameron?
Loading.
Loading. And so, I don't get this thing, that is stuff. And so, therefore, no, I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyway, so it's wonderful that we do have the students from China, from Vietnam, from Africa, everywhere, have their study. And so we had registered the app as a great street. We made an application for it to be a historical street. And that means what makes the app historical. And we're just making a documentary, what makes it historical. First female mayor in the entire United States lived right on the app. That's just the beginning. So you have to come over and watch it, it's loading.
I don't think it is loading.
It is, yeah, there's too many things open.
Yeah, we have way too many things. There it is. There we go.
Okay,
Well, we're gonna have to move along because.
yeah, Amy, better get ready to come on over. This is only a minute, so can we just have that minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Three signs your straight hair is secretly weak.
All right, let's get through the edge. Good edge.
Tucked away at the tippy top of a building on the Ave, look for a museum with an open heart and open mind.
Thank you. Exercise for the week. I got the same outfit on.
Brainchild of Zabine Ness and her late husband Peter.
Can you hear it?
Check about trains in Amsterdam. I mean, I hear in the very center is the history train that goes from 1800 to 2050.
Along these tracks, you'll find stories of world events and technology.
First woman on the Supreme Court, the Berlin Wall comes down.
Always through the lens of social justice. The museum is as eclectic as its founder. So when people walk in here, do you feel like, in a sense, they're taking a tour of your mind?
Yes.
Exhibits featuring women's history in the New District stand side by side with a multi-denominational meditation room.
It's centered about the idea of a disability museum. To meditate and reflect is a natural partnership.
The Unity Museum has spawned a few satellite locations across the country and overseas because thirst for knowledge and hope for unity is universal.
We feel that we need to be the solution for peace. I think if anything, the lesson is to reflect. When you collect your thoughts at night, what did I learn today? Not what did I accomplish today, but what did I learn today?
That's it, right? So what did we learn today?
We hired two of the biggest tech companies in the United States, Microsoft and Amazon. With all of its modern charm, few people will ever notice that there is an entire hidden underground city beneath the streets.
It's nothing like the Scooby-Doo show.
All right, can somebody kill this thing? I don't know how to do it.
Plug someone. Combination of 840 inhabitants. Political influence over a community of 1 billion Catholics worldwide.